Moses Lake, Washington. A small agricultural city in the high desert of Grant County, population just over 25,000. Flat land, wide skies, and the kind of quiet where neighbors know each other by name. On the morning of November 3rd, 2024, a family made a discovery on a property off Stanley Drive, northeast. The ground behind an old shop had been disturbed. Something had been buried. They started digging. What they found was Richard Andrews, 75 years old. Their father, their grandfather, buried in a shallow grave. His throat had been slashed, he had been beaten, and the man investigators would identify as his killer had been living in his house. Richard Andrews was 75 years old, a Moses Lake resident who had worked hard, built a life, and taken care of the people around him. He had a shop on a piece of property in Cascade Valley, a truck he let family members use, and a home on Northdale Road in the Knowles Vista neighborhood where he lived with his grandson. His family described him as a man you could count on, the kind of person who opened his door when someone needed a place to stay, even when that person was struggling. One of those people was his own grandson, Isaiah Joshua Thomas, 27 years old, a former college athlete with a history of mental health struggles. Richard Andrews had taken him in, given him a home, trusted him under his roof. It would cost him everything. In late October 2024, Richard Andrews told one of his daughters that he was planning to go on a hunting trip. A routine thing, nothing alarming, but no one heard from him after that. Days passed. Family members grew uneasy. They drove to his house on Northdale Road. The door was unlocked, and sitting inside the residence, in plain sight, were Richard Andrews' eyeglasses, his wallet, and his cell phone. No man goes hunting without his glasses. No man leaves without his wallet or his phone. Richard Andrews had not gone on any hunting trip. Something was very wrong. When family members arrived, they found something else. Or rather, someone else. Isaiah Thomas was still there. He had permission to drive his grandfather's pickup truck, and family members had noticed him acting increasingly erratic in the days leading up to Andrew's disappearance. Now, speaking to relatives at the house, he seemed disoriented and strange. The family suspected him immediately. They told police. And then they went to check the shop. The Grant County Sheriff's Office responded first. Officers began carefully excavating the disturbed area behind the building. They found Richard Andrews buried in a shallow grave. The body was exhumed the following day. An autopsy confirmed what the family had feared. Andrews had suffered a fatal knife wound to the neck. His throat had been slashed. He had also been beaten with blunt force before his death. The medical examiner determined he had been dead for at least 12 hours before his body was discovered. With the body discovered, investigators moved quickly. They obtained a search warrant for the Dale Road residence, the home Richard Andrews had shared with Thomas, and executed the search. What they found inside painted a clear and damning picture. Blood was present on the back door of the home. In the bed of the pickup truck Thomas had been driving, the one belonging to his grandfather, investigators found an axe and a shovel, and sitting in plain view on a coffee table inside the house, a sheathed knife stained with blood. Prosecutors would later argue the murder happened here, inside the home on Northdale Road. Then Thomas loaded his grandfather's body into the truck and drove it roughly 3 miles to the shop property in Cascade Valley, where he dug a grave and attempted to bury the evidence. He burned some materials near the gravesite, but he didn't get it all, and when his grandfather's family came looking, they found what he'd tried to hide. The Washington State Patrol Crime Lab was called in to process both scenes, the gravesite in Cascade Valley and the Dale Road residence. Crime Lab technicians worked through the night. On November 4th, 2024, the day after the body was found, Moses Lake police officers located Isaiah Thomas at the Dale Road residence and took him into custody. He was booked into the Grant County Jail on suspicion of homicide. Moses Lake Police Captain Jeff Sarsley confirmed. At this point, it appears that the homicide occurred at the Dale Street address, where Thomas had been living with the victim. He pleaded not guilty at his arraignment on November 21st, 2024. At the time of his arrest, family members told reporters that Thomas had struggled with mental health issues for years. that Andrews had taken him in because of those struggles, that Richard Andrews had, in a very real sense, tried to save his grandson. His grandson had killed him anyway. The case built against Isaiah Thomas over the following months was comprehensive. Physical evidence was overwhelming, blood matching the victim found at the Dale Road home, the knife recovered from the coffee table, the axe and shovel in the truck, the shallow grave 3 miles from the murder scene, consistent with a deliberate attempt to conceal the crime. Body camera footage captured by responding officers became central to the public understanding of the case. The footage showed police first encountering Thomas while he was driving Andrews' pickup truck, before the body had even been found. It showed tense exchanges at the home as family members confronted investigators and each other. And it showed the moment on the Cascade Valley property when the ground gave up what had been hidden. A viral video released in April 2025 compiled that body camera footage alongside family statements and investigative details. It showed just how quickly the family had pointed investigators toward Thomas, and how fast the evidence confirmed their suspicions. The family knew. They had known from the moment they walked into that house and found the glasses, the wallet, and the phone still on the table. With the trial approaching and the evidence against him insurmountable, Isaiah Joshua Thomas made a decision. In February of 2026, he pleaded guilty, dropping his not guilty plea before the trial began. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and to unlawful disposal of human remains. On March 10, 2026, Thomas appeared before Judge Anna Gigliotti in Grant County Superior Court for sentencing. He was now 28 years old. Judge Gigliotti sentenced him to the maximum term, 244 months in state prison. That is just over 20 years. Richard Andrews' possessions, his glasses, his wallet, his phone, had been left behind in the house he shared with the man who killed him. The tools of the crime, the axe, the shovel, the blood-stained knife, had been left in plain sight. Thomas hadn't been careful. He had been reckless. And that recklessness is what allowed his family to find their father and find justice for him. Richard Andrews opened his home to his grandson because that is what family does. He gave him shelter when he had nowhere else to go. He handed him the keys to his truck. He brought him into his life. Isaiah Thomas repaid that generosity with a knife. What makes this case stay with people, what makes it hard to shake, is the simplicity of the betrayal. There was no feud, no gang rivalry, no drug deal gone wrong. Just a 75-year-old man who trusted the wrong person. A man who tried to do right by his family and paid with his life. His family found him. They found the grave. They pointed the finger before police had even finished processing the scene. And because of them, and because of what Isaiah Thomas left behind, he did not get away with it. Isaiah Joshua Thomas will serve over 20 years in a Washington state prison. He will be in his late 40s when he is first eligible for release. Richard Andrews will remain in Cascade Valley, in the memory of the family who found him and refused to let him be forgotten.